welcome to TCAST TARTLE. Here we are with Alexander McCaig and Jason Rigby, the CEO of TARTLE.co and CMO, myself, Jason Rigby. I want to talk today, Alexander, about trust. Specifically, why a buyer signs up on the system and how can they, one, trust TARTLE? Two, when they're buying that data, I want to get into, and first we'll get into why they should trust TARTLE, but two, we're going to get into specifically how we get the data, how they know that they can trust us because of where the data comes from.
I like that. Trust is probably the most difficult things to get in this world, to build it from society, to build it as a brand, and to build it with corporations or anybody that chooses to participate in this marketplace. And the first things we can do to build trust is to build it technologically. So what does that mean? We facilitate technology in TARTLE to make sure that we, as TARTLE ourselves, don't get to just play around with people's information when they securely store it on our servers. If we want people's information, we don't have special privileges like you've seen with big tech companies in the past, okay? We have to be participants in our own marketplace. We have to buy the data from the users if we want it. So when it comes to this, we want to tell everybody that in equal footing on this playing ground, we're all there with you. We participate in the same sort of form and function. We are leaders of the brand itself, educating upon it, right? But to build that trust, we have mechanisms in place that prevent us from even being bad actors with our own technology. So I think fundamentally that's the first thing we want to do. The second aspect of it is that when companies are coming to TARTLE, buyers are coming to TARTLE to acquire data, something that we wanted to make sure was that when they are actually acquiring this information, they wanted to make sure that they were, one, getting it from a real human being, and then two, that there was a record of exchange and a record of consent that occurred when that data was acquired. For far too long, people have been acquiring data through black boxes all over the internet, not really sure where it's coming from, not establishing a relationship with the end user that is creating it, and they certainly could not prove that they sourced it ethically. So a lot of those headaches, we have removed those technologically if you actually sign up as a buyer here on the TARTLE marketplace. So as a buyer, you can be sure technologically and verifiably that it has come from a human being with full consent. There's a record of exchange and you rightfully own that asset. Are you tracking with me on that, Jason?
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to understand, and I want to get into this a little bit more of what you're saying. So we all know the old Web 2.0, kind of currently what we're experiencing. It was all about exploiting data. It was all about not being concerned about privacy. Even companies that say they were working on privacy, it was kind of the smoke and mirror. And at the same time, they're still wanting to track you. They're still wanting to send ads to you. They're still wanting to, do retargeting and all these different things that they do to be able to get somebody geolocations, all of that, to be able to get as much data as they can passively from the end user to get this profile that they have. And we've talked about this 100 times, to make these buckets of people and then to be able to monetize them. The whole paradigm shift in Web 3.0, which I always like to tell people TARTLE's 4.0, is this whole idea that we're going directly to the user, that we're ethically and extremely transparent, allowing the power of that data, not subversively through this cloak and mirrors format, but we're going directly to them, allowing them to be able to empower themselves to make the decision to sell that data. And I think that's very important. I want you to talk about that because buyers need to understand the source of where it's coming from.
Yeah, correct. All the data you've ever ingested for your company, everything that allows your company to exist happens because human beings support your products and services. Hands down. Nothing else. Getting down to brass tacks, that's what it is. So the data which you need to receive shouldn't come from people outside of the ones that support your business or services. Some other firm shouldn't be selling you something so they can make money off of their surveillance and manipulation on the subset of people that are trying to support you.
Yes.
That erodes your goodwill and trust with your customers because then they're curious, well, how did you know this about me? Where did you get this information? Rather than you coming to them in a relationship stance and say, I am asking you. I want to make sure I have your consent. I want to make sure that I can acquire this data directly from you and I'm willing to pay you for this information. that change in the established relationship is a change of trust. And we have fixed the paradigm where it's like, let's just stick a billboard in your face, which was the internet. And the reason we put that billboard there is because we've been tracking you and this is our best guess. You eradicate the nature of guessing. You know for a fact, and you can ethically source information by establishing those relationships upfront with the people who are supporting your business itself. And those are human beings, the ones creating that data.
Yeah, and people don't realize, and I think this is really important, and you can read about this online. Whenever you're purchasing data, these companies are incentivized purely off of profit. And I'm not saying all of them are nefarious, but you have to understand when a country like Russia or any of these countries, and I'm not just picking on them, but any of these countries are stealing data. Let's say all these data breaches, Equifax, JP Morgan Chase. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, maybe one of our buyers have experienced this. That data gets sold to highest bid buyer. And that data also they may take the social security number out. They may take the date of birth out and keep the address and the email and then sell that list a little bit cheaper. But that list could go through 20 or 30 different countries. And then before you know it, there's another company in another country that seems legit, and they're selling that data to a company in the United States. And then that company in the United States, Canada, or Europe, wherever it is selling you, and you don't even realize where it came from. And I ask any data buyer, and I want you to talk about it. I ask any data buyer, ask them directly. I want to know a blockchain. I want to know the ledger exactly to the pinpoint of where that data came from.
And guess what? They can't tell you. They can't tell you. But do you know what they could tell you? We got it from TARTLE. If you ever get audited, guess what you can do? You can come to TARTLE. Here's your audit trail. You know for a fact. You can tell everybody else, see you later, leave. This is not my headache. We ethically source all of our information. I didn't buy it from some ridiculous premium because it was stolen from people. Oh, by the way, what happens when you steal? You harm human life.
Yes.
So if you want to just continue to perpetuate old models, not understanding where these things came from, go ahead, be my guest. But if you want to take a step forward into the future, if you want to elevate your company, your brand, you want to elevate the human beings that support it, you do that at the TARTLE Marketplace. So I thank you, one, for signing up as a buyer. And two, if you have any questions about trust, you can always reach out to us. You can always check out all of our educational material. We will teach you technologically. We will teach you brand-wise. We will teach you strategy, because we are not here to coerce you. We are here to educate. And it's fundamentally more important for us to have everybody understanding the purpose of what is going on rather than tell someone that something is just valuable. So, as a data buyer, we thank you. Keep it forward. And we are very happy to have you here on the system.